Game 2 was slipping away from him. No, absolutely not. In the end, he closed it out in a dominant manner. So I am truly excited to see how this best of 3 will play out between these two titans in the StarCraft scene. Top left side, the Italian wonder boy himself, representing Clash. It is Reynor.
He gets a super riff there. In the bottom right from the Freak of Freaks, the Korean Protoss up against the wall of Italy. It is Stats. I do feel like Reynor is the, you know, it's weird to say that he's a stronger Zerg than DRG, but it's not anymore. You know, at least not for the last year. No. Last year and a half, maybe even 2 years if you want to stretch it that far. Like, DRG is a top 4 GSL player, but it really feels like Reynor doesn't have anyone that's favored against him. You know, he's kind of got that Cyril effect. It's how I describe Cyril, where whenever someone says, oh, who's favored for this series, I always say, well, you know, there are only people that are below them, and there are a very short list of people that I would say are at the same level. You know, like Reynor and Cyril, same level. Clem, I feel like, is also pushing that level. A bunch of the guys in the career are at that level, but then everyone else not favored at all.
I'm with you. This has been a pretty funny little opening where Stats sent out one of his first probes to the other side of the map to block the hatchery from going up into the natural. Reynor went with Pool first, had his drone out. It looked like he wanted to take his hatchery elsewhere, but then eventually Stats like, wait a minute, I need to see where that drone actually went in case I'm going to get proxied. And then one of the drones just morphed into a hatchery in the natural. But it's obviously still different, right? The economy is already a bit thrown off because of Stats' early scout. Reynor going for Pool first. Submarine is a very small map, Maynard, so these Zerglings can make it to the other side of the map very early. This is a wall, by the way, with 2 holes. Is this a problem?
Yes, the south side needs the probe here to hold on. Another Zealot about to pop. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, a wall with 2 holes does kind of suck, but Stats not quite had enough for the Zealot as well as the gateway, I suppose. So we went for the pylon instead, so. Yeah. I mean, it ain't pretty, but it is a block.
It is funny already that we're playing on Submarine, though, because I believe Reynor vetoed Submarine in Game 1, or in his first series of the day when he played Nice. And we didn't see Stats play on Submarine either against Dongre Gul, so it's kind of funny how we had 2 PVCs where Submarine didn't make it twice, and here we are in a best of 3, the one that matters the most, and all of a sudden we're on Submarine.
I was just saying, I didn't think that Reynor would be singing as much in the series, but I tell you what, he's basically having a personal concert of 1 over there on that player cam. Stargate going down here for Stats. Out of vision of the Zerg. The Overlord does not see that, but probably has a good idea that that's happening. Stats pretty much is a Stargate opener or die trying kind of guy. He's not much of an adept printer. Protoss.
Yes, I mean, I'm with you, obviously. I mean, we saw it in the previous series. Stats did go Stargate all the time. But I think on this map, like, Resonating Glaive Adepts is so damn powerful. Of course, the same can be said for Everdream, and we didn't see Stats play any Resonating Glaive openings on Everdream either. But I still think that this is one of these maps where you would truly love to get the confirmation it is indeed a Stargate, because it does make your life a lot easier as a Zerg player.
And so far, the Adept's going for a little bit of a look here. Sees no third at the triangle expansion. Reynor's going for the edge of the map here as far as third base is concerned. And that's fine. All stylistic. Stats will have that information shortly enough. As he goes into Void Ray here. Was that Oracle first into Void Ray, or did the Stargate just finish? No, it is actually Void Ray first. All right.
I mean, it's a funny little move out as well. 1 Adept and 2 Zealots are just kind of going for a little walk in the center of the map. One of the creep tumors did get picked off, so that's a little victory for Stats. But as the observer shown us as well, it is important that Stats is confirming that Reynor is going up to 3 bases. Otherwise, there are a couple of crazy 2-base all-ins you can do on Submarine as well. And that obviously requires... Stats still didn't see that hatchery, but what he does see right now is a whole bunch of Zerglings. If I'm Stats here, I would panic and I would build a shield battery, but Stats is showing us that he's a much bigger man than I am, and he's not too worried because he's like, I've got a Void Ray. What's the worst thing that could happen?
And keep in mind that his wall does have a bit of a gap in there. It looks like the pylon's starting to plug it up. And Roach Warren going down here for Reynor on a pretty decent drone count for it, but he is still droning behind it, obviously, so not getting too wild, too crazy here. His ball's going up the Stargate build at the third base. We've got a little bit of Void Ray action, looking for that Overlord kill. Not going to get it.
Yeah, that's not the most successful Void Ray adventure I've ever seen. Almost got a drone, but that drone morphed into a Spore Crawler temporarily. It's funny as well, because we know that with projectiles, but obviously against beams, you can just do that as well. And on the other hand, that the Overlord also gets saved by the Queens. But I guess that Void Ray is mostly just meant to be a very strong, powerful defensive unit. So in that way, there is not too much to worry about. Stats has one Oracle. I mean, I will always think back of that one Home Story Cup where Stats and Zest showed us some fantastic triple Oracle openings. With just non-stop stasis traps left, right, and center. And even Zero had a hard time keeping up with that. But that has really kind of fallen out of fashion. And it does make me sad, because I love the multitasking that the Korean Protestants were showing back then.
They're absolute gods for sure. Not too bad at it still these days. Current day, current year. We do have the Twilight Council Forge robotics facility going down here for stats, so starting to switch away from Stargate into something more of a ground pound as Lair +1 starts the circuit. Very, very standard game so far. Just, you know, Reynor kind of dominating the map so far with these Lings. Not really able to do anything on the Protoss side of the map, but likewise for stats. He hasn't really found anything on this side of the map either, except for this Overlord. All right. He's got 3 kills in the Void so far.
Reynor has done a phenomenal job in this game in droning up, though. Like, he's closing in on 70 drones at this point, while Stats is getting a little bit of everything and perhaps has a slightly better army, but this is obviously not the kind of army you want to run towards the other side of the map with. We saw an incredibly defensive Stats in the series against Dong Regu, and obviously he got that nickname for a reason. The Shield of Ire. We know that he likes to sit back. We know he likes to just build up strong armies and deflect all kinds of attacks, but like Reynor is already working with a much better economy in such an early phase in the game than Dong Regu was in any of the 3 previous games we just saw.
We do actually see also stats going for Blink here, which feels like a reaction to this map more than just, you know, anything. I feel like this map actually can lend itself to Blink a little bit better. You don't have as many giant open spaces where the Zerg can surround those things and kill them. You have your choke points, you got your high grounds, your low ground dips. I'm liking this choice from stats. It does seem like he's minutes, or rather a minute away from getting across the map and doing something as his army starts to move forward. Blink and +1 still halfway done.
You know what's really cool is that Stats hallucinated the War Prism that he just sent towards the top side of the map. And I think Reynor thought it was a real one, because now he had 2 Queens trying to intercept that fake War Prism. And even the Spore Crawler got moved to the corner of the base. So that's kind of fun. I don't think it's going to have a big impact on how this game is going to be played out. But it's fun to see that that little tomfoolery worked for Stats.
Well, he's got a lot of sentries with energy here. Like, this looks like a parting attack. A lot of Stalkers with +1, a ton of force fields. Yeah. Reynor doesn't have a ton of Ravagers yet, or he's only got 6 at the moment, so he does need a few more here to handle the force fields, I feel.
Yeah, I think 6 is a decent number. I would have been very worried if he had 2 or 3, but he does have to be very careful. He is actually going to engage his army before Stats really wants to fight. All of a sudden, Stats is like, wait a minute, my army is better than your army. It's like, I'm sitting on some money, so I want to get these extra warpins here. Maynard, here we go. +1 Stalkers with Blink and a whole bunch of force fields. Let's see if they can make some magic happen.
Oh, they got that choke point, though, and they can really get themselves a concave here on the left side as the Stalkers go up. A counterattack at Roaches here from Reynor may find a lot of damage on the other side of the map, but meanwhile, his 4th base is in a ton of trouble. Actually, the 3rd base is in a ton of trouble.
Yep, I mean, and that's where +2 missile attacks was on the way as well. Reynor's is going to cancel that. He's like, you know what, I need as many units as I can right now. Not a forward Blink on top of the Ravagers, and all of a sudden it feels like these Ravagers are in trouble, but the Queens are doing an excellent job in keeping them alive a little bit longer.
They're also kind of blocking these Lings from getting through and doing what they need to do for the Zerg.
Oh my God.
Stats is blinking back. A ton of probe damage that Roaches busted through that natural wall, and they are in. Reynor, though, doesn't seem to be winning the fight on the left side. He needs those extra 14 Lings right here, right now.
I think he's good, Maynard. All the Immortals have gone down. GG gets called. Reynor with an insane counterattack there. On such a small map like Submarine, there is such a big Protoss army heading your way with a lot of Link Stalkers, +1, sentries, a prism. I mean, which madman then grabs 9 roaches and is like, you know what, go to the other side of the map, kill some probes for me. But it turned out to be a brilliant call by Reynor. Very well done.
I think that's kind of the difference between some of the good Zergs and the great Zergs, is not only knowing, you know, of course, when to drone, when not to drone, all that sort of stuff, but also knowing that they're like, oh, I can handle this. My reinforcements will be fine. It may not look good on paper, but my reinforcements will hold this, and I can break off this many units and attack with it. It just... You always see these really great Zergs always have that Ling run by happening when you're like, shouldn't you have those Lings at home right now? You're being attacked by a huge, scary army. They're like, no, I'll be fine. Those dozen Lings are going to make sure that this is a win rather than just a victory in the battle. They're going to win the war rather than the battle.
Yeah, you know, 12 Lings, 12, 14 Lings is like whatever, because that doesn't represent that much of your army. But this was like 9 or 10 roaches that it just ran.
Yeah, 20 army supply.
Yeah, that's actually, it felt like a pretty massive commitment. You'd feel like he needs those units at home, but in the end he didn't. What I also loved is that the moment the roaches broke into the natural, Reynor immediately realized, this is it. I'm gonna deal so much damage here. All I need to do is survive and get as many units out as possible. And he immediately canceled +2 missile attacks. That was like 60-70% done. And I also think that that's the kind of stuff is just brilliant to see, right? Like realizing that all he needs to do is just survive, because those roaches are going to do, you know, way more important things than +2 missile attacks ever would for him in this game.
We're heading to Pillars of Gold here for game number 2 between Stats and Reynor. Stats did great on this map against DRG. It was one of the more one-sided maps in that series. And let's see how well he does here against Reynor, who is already on match point. The top right here from the Afrika Freaks. It is the Korean Protoss Stats.
In the bottom left side, look at the main base of the champ of the European region when it comes to DreamHack StarCraft 2 Masters Fall. But this time he wants to take the seasonal championships as well. It is Reynor. Now,
Yeah.
Meanie, I do want to mention real quick, a lot of people always wonder, like, how do they do this with the servers? Well, we always try to find the most fair solution for the players. The way it works when, for instance, Reynor plays against Stats is where things get a bit complicated, because US Central is quite a bit better for Reynor, but then US West is better for Stats. So the way that we do it is that it goes on and off. The first game was played on US Central, so that server did favor Reynor a little bit. Reynor had a better ping there than Stats. Now we're on US West, so this one should favor Stats a little bit more than it favors Reynor. And obviously we're just trying to find the most fair solution. A lot of fans can't wait for offline StarCraft to be back, and I think the same goes for all the pro players and for us as well as casters, but
Yeah.
we didn't plan Corona, Meanie.
No, we didn't. And I'm with you, man. I just want those lands back so badly. We want that to offline, big stage, light production, you know, the music, the prestige, that sort of thing. But I feel like DreamHack's been doing a fantastic job with these online tournaments.
Absolutely.
I really love the Esl Pro Tour and DreamHack coming together and actually putting on these really awesome tournaments that actually feel very prestigious. Like it's an online tournament. We're at home casting from our apartments, from our houses, but you look at those prize pools, you look at how much it means to the players, and you're like, oh no, these are still our season finals. Our sport is still doing great. But yeah. I'm with you though. Nothing's going to replace the real thing of having that offline event.
No, I think you really nailed it there. Like, we've had a lot of player interviews also saying how stressed out they get for those group stage matches. And I know a lot of fans at first were like, well, 8-man groups, it feels like a bunch of irrelevant games. That's not what it is. I mean, the pros are stressed out of their minds, other than like maybe guys like Reynor and Cyril that just feel like they're going to win anyway, because they pretty much always win. But a lot of these guys, they live forward towards every single big best of 3. Their entire day is around that best of 3. And what I truly love, as we see the build unfold here, we'll talk about it real soon, about the entire way we've done these DreamHack events, is that it's not necessarily all about the top 10 players. Like, I've actually truly enjoyed the qualifiers, the storylines of players winning EPT points for the first time, making prize money out of StarCraft 2 for the first time. I really think if you're like a top 20, top 30 player in, for instance, the European region, this is actually more fun than an offline event, where obviously you're never going to be in the limelight because you're not going to make a top 8 run. But I feel like right now, with everything being a bit more spread out online, I think it's been truly cool for the second tier players in some of these regions.
Yeah, it's all about, man, building that grassroots. We've got a Stargate build here from Stats. He does love it in this matchup. Oracle first, though, no Void this time. Yeah, actually, you know, as a personal note, it took me a little bit to get deprogrammed from the old way of having a qualifier lead into an offline event. Because these are North American, European, even to a lesser extent, like the Oceanic, Taiwanese events, the Chinese event. To me, they were like, I was introducing them as qualifiers, and Apollo's like, no, you're doing this wrong. That's actually a main event. That is you're basically casting a major right now. Like this is an event with its own prize pool with a ton of money on the line. Like this is the champion of that region. This isn't just a qualifier for season finals.
Well, so, you know, next time Apollo tells you that, you're just like, you know what, Apollo, technically everything is a qualifier towards Katowice, okay? You know?
Exactly, yeah.
We'll see what it's
also, I think a raise is an order, you know, that kind of thing as well.
And then Sean will laugh at us and then look at his phone, and then he will say cheeky cheeky and move on.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
That
we've
is
got
the
two
build.
adepts moving out on the right side and oracles heading towards the main base. It is a double oracle opening at this point, Maynard, and that's obviously the first time we've seen the double oracle opening coming out of stats.
Reynor going to go for the single drone and take that stasis ward for the team. A little bit of denied mining time, so the stasis ward does do something. Adept showing up, actually getting another drone there, but Reynor seems to be super on the ball when it comes to Adept defense. Like, he is so good at it.
Maynard, an oracle just went down in the main base. I'm
Oh my
sorry,
God.
observer. I know that we were looking at the adepts, but one of the oracles just got gunned down. Stats just wasn't paying attention. I think he thought he clicked it away, but it was just sitting there, and the queen was getting hit after hit off, and that's a big deal, guys, because 2 oracles is the magic number to sweep in, kill a drone, get out of there, and then obviously rinse and repeat. Well, with a single oracle, that becomes a whole lot more difficult, so you kind of have to fall back to stasis traps, but that is a big loss on the side of stats.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. No ability to one-shot those drones anymore. The efficacy of just doing that run-by, that drive-by. Oh, this oracle very low. Queens just... Reynor just seems to be everywhere. He seems to be, like, reading stats ahead of time, like he's prescient.
Yep, and his oracle is now in kind of an awkward spot. Queens were trying to intercept it, I felt like, man. Reynor's gonna love this start, knowing that he took care of the adepts already, knowing that one of the oracles went down as well. It really doesn't get much better than that. And once again, the economy is starting to look a bit similar to the previous game. This time, Reynor up only 7 workers, but there are 8 more drones on the way. I truly hope for stats that he finds a little bit of momentum somewhere soon with a warp prism, with a couple of zealots. Not lose this oracle as well. This oracle starting to be in a really awkward spot, Maynard.
Oh,
Come on.
Oh my God, that queen was in the middle of the animation of the attack that would have killed it. And it just got out of there. Man, it does feel like Stats a little bit uncomfortable in this game. He's been making so few mistakes in his games so far in this group, but this... I mean, game 1 and this game here, especially this game, has looked a little bit shaky for him.
Yep, and Reynor is starting to look untouchable. He's now at 82 drones already. This is obviously the sweet spot for a lot of the Zerg players. This is where they want to be. And now they can start producing as many roaches and ravages as they want. Stats is even warping in a cannon. I feel like that's the last thing he really needs, knowing how greedy Reynor has been in this game. I'm not feeling it for Stats, Manny.
No, not at all. Not in that comfortable position where you're like, is heading towards having himself a lovely sort of mid-game where he's very, very strong. He's not been able to slow down the Zerg. He hasn't taken any good fights. Hasn't done any good harassment. He doesn't have any Stargate units really threatening the Zerg at the moment either. He didn't open Void Ray. No Oracles really, except for that one that's bruised. Archons are coming in with that Warp Prism. This is his first chance of doing something convincing on the Zerg side of the map. And the Queens.
3 queens. Way too much energy on those queens.
Transfuse each other into oblivion.
Indeed. They'll still be transfusing each other by the time Katowice comes around, man.
That's right. Katowice 2024, you mean?
Still full HP.
Pillars of Gold still in the map pool.
Well, I'll let you guys know how that movie ends. Infestation Pit being slapped down by Reynor. He already has the Hydra then, and I believe we've got a few Hydras out on the field already. That's incorrect, but we do have 5 on the way right now. He's at 91 drones. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous.
How did that happen? Wait, how do you get away with 91 drones at this point in the game and also get a cancel on the 4th base with your Roach army?
This is looking disastrous for Stats. I mean, I know there's not too many fights yet, but numbers-wise, it's painful. Warp Prism takes a lot of damage, but at least maybe the Queens will finally go down. Oh my goodness.
All right, give up on that 24 dream. The Queens finally go down to the Archons here. The high-energy Queen got picked off first, which is a nice target fire there from Stats. But, I mean, the difference in damage, though, is like, yes, Stats got 2 Queens, but getting the 4th canceled here is just absolutely insane. Reynor is ahead in every single regard at the moment.
And I'm saying what? Because he's making 11 more drones. He's at 102 drones right now. I mean... And Stats is actually warping in a ridiculous amount of static defenses. I mean, being the Shield of Ira is awesome. And obviously being safe against multi-prong aggression is great. And that works perfectly against Zergs that make a lot of roaches of 66, 68 drones, where they feel like they're truly throwing every penny that they have at you. But that's not what Reynor is doing. And I feel that it's starting to look like Stats is just digging his own grave in this game.
Yeah, he hasn't got anything that I feel is super convincing here except for Storm. Storm I like a lot. He's transitioning now into Stargate Tier 3, but he's not on the map doing anything at the moment. Reynor has really taken his side of the map and then some. Was over 100 drones, but just used a bunch to make some static defenses with some tech structures. Lurker Den, Hive about to finish up, and he just feels like he is, about to hit Lurkers before Stargate. Remember the DRG games? Stats, in the games that he won, he was already getting carriers as Lurkers were finishing morphing. Like, he was a little bit further ahead than he is right now.
Yep. Oracle does win the fight against the Queen, so that's nice. At least that Oracle stays alive, so Reynor can, Stats rather, can start packing the army of Reynor a little bit, keep track of it. Reynor is coming in from multiple angles here, but I'm not sure if Reynor is really that far ahead that he can fight in range of 4 cannons and 3 batteries. I think that's pushing it a little bit, Maynard.
Yeah, this Hydra army is also going to have to go up against 2 High Templar with a lot of energy for storms, and that's definitely going to be an overextension, at least on this side without the Lurkers. The Lurkers do join up, though. And if the Immortals leave this 4th base to assist on the Lurker side, well, that's when these Roaches and Hydras come on in and pick off that 4th.
Yeah, it seems like Stats will be able to at least buy some time for himself as we see a couple of drones go down. I guess a random Zealot made it into a mineral line somewhere. The Lurkers were left behind. That's actually kind of funny because these Lurkers are like a scout right now for Reynor. I mean, it's an expensive one, but it's a scout.
Yeah. Pole position Lurker, question mark? Of course, it's just left it behind here as they remain burrowed. Mama is on the way. She's ready to come and cloak her babies. But we'll see for how long as these Hydras and Lurkers begin their advance here into natural.
Yeah, range is done. Adaptive Talents is not done yet for the Lurkers, so they are going to be very slow in moving around at this point. But the Adaptive Talents upgrade really doesn't take that long. Reynor tries his luck on the right side, but he's like, whoa. Maybe not the ideal fight for a couple of Roaches and Hydras, so at least Stats is going to drag this game out. He is getting carriers out. He's getting his 2nd cybernetic score. You know, I love to see that. As long as he starts +2 immediately and doesn't wait like 2 minutes to start +2.
Yeah, I feel like the best chance Stats has got, because he didn't really have a great early mid game, is just dragging this game out and potentially taking a better fight with his late game army, because he's not going to get a whole lot done against Reynor earlier on as he gets up to 100+ drones. Like, there is already a maxed out Zerg at that point when you're on 140, 150 supply. You slow this game down, you try and get a good couple bases out, you grab all your assimilators, like he needs to take his gases very, very hard here, and just try and hold on and not let Reynor crack through a base for free. And I think that Stats actually does have a chance in this game at that point.
Oh, absolutely. I guess whenever you have +3 carriers and you've got some splash damage, you always have a chance. The Roaches really want to get a cancel on this base. They get a kill instead. That's even better. Obviously, Reynor is okay with losing a couple of Roaches at this point as he's replacing that lost supply with 19 Corruptors, and he's already upgrading these Corruptors on double Spire. And Maynard +1 air weapons finished up a minute and 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, was that
still,
+2?
Yeah, still no +2. I don't get that because it's so important for Stats.
Yeah, there it is now, as you mentioned it. So I feel like that +2 is faster than the last time, but it still might not be fast enough. Like, there's 20+ Corruptors just got made. Mothership is out, but the carrier count isn't super convincing yet. It's 6 carriers, about to be 9. And then moving out here on creep, trying to get himself an angle on this hatchery, which is down here on the low ground, a little bit more exposed. Reynor, he's the king of run bys here, and he's more than happy to see that Protoss army move out in a giant clump.
There are 2 Vipers coming in as well, and if Reynor is able to abduct like 2 carriers, and the rest of Stats' army really doesn't feel that intimidating at this point, it is super important that Stats can avoid that. Maybe land a feedback on those Vipers. That'd be amazing for the Korean Protoss. Things are about to get awkward. Here comes Reynor. Look at where those Vipers are. How do you feedback that, Maynard? They're like hidden between all those Corruptors, between the Overseers as well. So even the purple bar isn't really a clear indicator. That's actually really smart, right? Like hiding your Vipers on the Overseers.
Yeah. Unless you can target fire click like Serral, it's very hard to do. But there we go. The Vipers do get feedback, but of course they take a carrier down with them, so it wasn't for free for Stats.
It was actually the wrong Viper that got feedback because that abduct already landed, so there is still an abduct available. One of the Overseers did get feedback as well, and that's obviously not what you really want as Stats. The Oracle got picked off by the Hydras in between those bases, and we all know how important... Oh my goodness, Maynard, I can't watch this because this is not looking pretty for Stats at this point.
Yeah, he keeps bleeding out carriers into the Zerg army. The ground army is also having a tough time with these Lurkers. Finally, the Interceptor's coming to assist, but meanwhile, he's lost his High Templar, he's lost his Immortals, he's only got 4 on the right side, and there goes their energy. Between the carriers, a free pickings here for these Corruptors diving on top of the air army of Stats. Taking out the Interceptors, and Stalkers being warped in here. Definitely not a unit that Stats wants, but it's out of desperation rather than necessity.
Yep, needed to keep the remaining carriers alive. There is a lurker harassing the base on the right side of Stats as well, and that's actually becoming a bit of an issue because this one Archon was having the hardest time getting in range a bit. Eventually, Stats is going to clean this up. Don't ask me how that lurker got there, by the way, because there are 17 cannons and batteries. But hey, Stats still alive. He is getting a bit adventurous. I don't see any storm with his army, so these carriers do feel like sitting ducks. But hey, he's pushing back the creep. He's getting a couple of spore crawlers. Stats is fighting back.
This reminds me so much of game one against DRG, where Reynor's done some pretty critical damage to the Protoss, but he's just being he's potentially exposing himself by just having Corruptors without defense to the Archon carrier ball. And I start to believe, but once again, Reynor tightens up those ropes and he's looking really good again, coming forward with an attack. Hydra's here to assist to get rid of those interceptors. Corruptors get tagged, but they're just waiting for their time.
Yeah, I've got rid of one of the observers there as well, and that's very nice. This all seemed like a pretty decent fight at first, at least for Stats. Now all these interceptors need to get out, and they are getting out.
It's a good fight.
That should be able to win this. Lands a couple of great storms as well on top of the Hydras and Corruptors. Well done there by Stats. That was an excellent trade.
That was his best fight in this game, in the series just yet. That was his best fight just yet. Now he needs to take more than that. He is still behind in this game. Don't get me wrong. Reynor has the worker can advantage. He's had a giant bank to sit on. His minerals just got spent. He's made 13 more Corruptors, and he's got 6 Vipers on the way. When those Vipers are juiced up, that is going to be a problem for Stats with his low high Templar count.
Yeah, Reynor definitely does have to be careful though. Like, that's a mistake that maybe he can afford once because he did create an advantage for himself, but he can't afford another fight like that. Even with his 95 drones, that is going to become problematic. Now, +3 air weapons on the way as well for Stats. Reynor, his Corruptors will have to do though. That fight was a bit of an anti-timing. I don't know if the attack and armor upgrades mattered that much because it was mostly about the storms that were excellent. And now we've got a bunch of Zealots as well.
Oh, nice.
Down on this base on the right side. 2 Spine Crawlers is not going to be enough here, but let's take a look what happens in the main fight.
All right, one carrier does get picked off, drops the storm, but doesn't really get too much done. Those Zealots are finding a ton of damage, though. A lot of drones dying. Reynor's army out of position here, on watch for that tier 3 army, the Protoss, which is rightfully so. That is the scariest part of Stats' army, but that does mean that Hatchery is likely dead. Oh, here we go. Another yoink there. The Mothership gets a lot of damage on it, but will survive at least the initial wave. And another storm goes down, or 2 there for Stats. But the Corruptors are still looking healthy.
Yep, there are still so many Vipers. The carriers are getting picked off one by one. I mean, the Zealot one by on the right side was excellent, but this fight, even though Stats does get a base, I don't know if this was really the fight he's looking for. The Corruptors are going on top of the carriers, and that means at this point, all the air units are gone. And I think that Bar Prism is going to fall as well.
The Corruptors are stacked up the Archons, though. A few of them get out of there, but most, I say 6 or 7 of them went down to the Archons, I feel. I actually wonder if the Stats, what about going for a ground army here? Like, forget the carrier. There's a lot of Corruptors, a lot of Vipers. Go for that ground army of maybe like a high Templar Archon charge lot force. As I say that, there's those 11 lurkers. Reynor is not leaving any openings in his armor here. Oh.
Yeah, one more carry does get picked off. But hey, during all of that, Stats did get 2 bases, right? He got the bottom right and he got center left as well. 27 drones went down. Yes, Reynor is still sitting at 190 supply at this point, but he doesn't really have that bank anymore. And let's not forget that Stats has been whopping in a ridiculous amount of static defenses throughout the entirety of this game. So it is hard for Reynor to find openings on Stats' side of the map as well. And these Corruptors, I don't think Reynor should throw them away. And yeah, fortunately for him, he will not, because there are still more carriers on the way.
The lurkers continue to be annoying here for Stats. Does have some detection, so he's able to take down 1 here, but most of them are still unbeknownst to him. Oh, he's got a siege up observer to the south side. Never mind, he will be able to take them down with the interceptors eventually. The Corruptors are actually very low and also bruised in number, so they're not as big a threat to the carrier ball. Oops, High Templar getting a little bit close there. Oh, it's only 3 carriers though.
I mean, the Corruptors are low on HP. We just need a little damage on these Corruptors for Stats. It seems like we're not going to find it, and it means that the last 3 carriers are going to go down as well after this entire base just went down. Well, one of them is going to get saved by overcharged battery. Stats had enough of that Maynard. He's just going to counterattack on the left side, but a lot of lurkers with adaptive talents are heading towards his army.
Yeah, and that's the big problem here for Stats. That's stopping him from doing anything other than making this air army, is that there is, a dozen lurkers here. The Mothership is out. Stats did lose that base, but he is still mining. And I feel like as long as he's mining, as long as he's getting a 600 odd gas in a minute, he is still able to make more air units. And if he can do that, if he can slow this game a little bit more, I could see him actually getting into a winning position.
I think he's in a great position at this point because he's got the fresher bases. Like the base he just lost, I mean, he was mining of that for such a long time. That wasn't that important. These two bases are important, but I don't know if Reynor really has the anti-air that he needs right now. He's got a couple of corruptors. This is a big fight because Reynor only has 63 drones and no money in the bank. If Stats gets a W here, if he keeps his bases alive, there's a good chance that Stats will walk away with victory in game 2.
I mean, he's in an all right spot. 23 lurkers. Got to get rid of these carriers, and those lurkers could be just have a field day here with this army. The High Templar come forward. They get a feedback off, of course. Mothership lasts a little while, drops that time warp at least, but I'm not sure that's going to help too much, as it often doesn't.
Stats need to use those units in the bottom left that he's using right now. They were just kind of chilling there for a while, and that means that Reynor is going to end up losing another hatchery. The lurkers are not going to be able to save this one, and that's a big loss for Reynor, who once again doesn't have that much money in the bank. But he does have a whole bunch of lurkers that are starting to get in range of the middle line. There were so many probes there, Maynard.
Yeah, and they're about to lose their home here as they try and find a new option. In the bottom right, Reynor trying to re-expand Stats there to meet him with some gateway units. Yeah, this is a real back and forth bloody brawl here.
Yeah, Stats is playing excellent here. He's really starting to pull Reynor apart as well. But obviously, Reynor is still maxed out. Still has 17 corruptors, actually. But he needs to be careful with them because a lot of them have taken a beating of the amount of run-bys that Stats has gone for. One carrier feels a bit exposed here, but Stats does a great job in keeping it alive. And these lurkers are all left by themselves in the natural. Oh no, there are all carriers and observers on top of all the lurkers. Reynor making a very big mistake, and that could really cost him.
It may just cost him this game, Roddy. Those corruptors are so battered and bruised. The interceptor's coming on in from Stats, and he does get rid of the air army of Reynor. He eats a parasitic bomb, but the carriers will survive. And the last few lurkers here in the natural do go down. Reynor is making lings, and he's broke. And I think this has finally been Stats' moment. He's in that winning position I was talking about.
Stats just found his pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That was like 14 lurkers all by themselves. He's like, hey, I've got 7-8 carriers with +3 attack and an observer right above them. It doesn't really get much better than that. You said it, Reynor is broke. What's the NTR right now? He's got 3 corruptors. He did manage to get out 8 more lurkers, so maybe Reynor can survive. But for the first time, Reynor is in some real serious trouble here.
He's just trying to go for a run by here. You know, everything that he can do to try and just slow the Protoss down, make this an all-in. I mean, Stats just seems to continue to keep that macro machine churning, still able to afford 2 carriers at once, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering how broke Reynor is, it's fantastic. He comes on top of those lurkers. This is a very entrenched position in for Reynor. An observer with this army has to pull back from those spores, needs that detection. Can't quite break Reynor yet, but he's also not getting broken by the run-bys.
No, he has plenty of zealots at home. I love that he's still just building more and more carriers. Why the hell not? Obviously, losing that base center left top for Stats was a bit painful, but he is rebuilding that. He also rebuilt the nexus in the triangle formation. One of the carriers gets found by themselves. Can the shield battery save the day? Yes, it can. Yes, oh my goodness, what a save.
Yeah, that thing is a lot of resources, and the Corrupt is trying to go home. The Archon's looking to intercept, but Reynor quickly changing the trajectory there, rather, of the Corruptors. Loses 1, but at least doesn't lose them all.
We've got 20 Spore Crawlers for Reynor. You could say that that is perhaps enough anti-air to survive a little while. It is hard to attack into 20 Spore Crawlers, but we've got 0 Vipers on the map at this point. And I do have the feeling that Stats should be able to outmaneuver these static defenses slowly but steady.
Reynor is just struggling to get these scary units back up. He needs to make Corruptors, but he also needs to do something on the Protoss side of the map. The Stats is just re-expanding. He's going to take top left away from Reynor here, who's pooping on it with an Overlord at the moment.
What a game by Stats. Really, really impressive.
Great comeback.
It just felt that he was really far behind, and there was that fight that happened on the high ground of Stats' third base. We're like, yeah, that was actually really good, and even though Reynor is rich, he shouldn't do that more often, but at that point I still didn't feel the game was slipping away from Reynor. But Stats has had a couple of great counterattacks, and I really feel the Zealots were the absolute MVPs in this game, because they were able to start to seriously cripple that economy of Reynor.
Oh, the Corrupt is finding way too many carriers here. They may get 1, but at the cost of every Corruptor. Definitely not what Reynor wanted, and Stats gets what he wants, and that is a tied-up series with a map 2 win. Well played, Stats. What a comeback, man. that engagement in front of the natural for Stats seemed to have been his saving grace, as it was all Reynor up until that point.
Incredibly impressive. I love the fist bump coming out of Stats, and we think as StarCraft nerds, we all let a little fist bump go as well, because that means one more game between Stats versus Reynor coming up after this quick break.
G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. We're into Game 3 here between Stats and Reynor. Stats getting a comeback in Game 2 and managing to capitalize that into a W. And we've got one map to decide who goes through out of this group and who has to continue to slog it out in the deciders match at the end of the day. Everdream is the next battlefield. Rotterdam, thoughts on the series so far?
Awesome. I'm not surprised that Stats was able to take a map of Reynor and potentially even win the series, but I am surprised that he was able to win that specific game 2 where it felt his opening didn't work out, right? He lost one of his oracles by just not paying attention in the main base. The adepts didn't really do that much. Reynor was ultra greedy. Stats was investing in static defenses. The fact that he won that game, I find incredibly impressive.
Kind of impressive in the bottom left here. Still on match point since game 1. It is Reynor from Clash.
Well, I guess then this man is also on match point, Maynard.
Hell
the
yeah,
top
he is.
right side of Everdream. We look at the main base of the Korean Protoss player. It is Stats.
It's a great thing about best of threes. You know, never too far away from that match point hype.
Of course, if you guys just joined us, this is the winners match of Group B of the DreamHack Masters Fall Season Finals. The winner of this series will move on into the playoffs, where the best 8 players of the group stage will duke it out with each other. The loser is going to have to wait a little bit, as we have Nice versus Dongregu coming up after this. And then the winner of Nice Dongregu will, of course, play against the loser of Stats versus Reynor.
That's right. So it does seem like a very tough ask for Nice in the losers match to win against either of these guys. Obviously, a rematch against Reynor, I feel like would go pretty similarly to their first series. I feel like he has more of a chance against Stats, but even then, he'd be heavily favored. So yeah, there are definitely 3 big monsters in this group, and one real David with those Goliaths.
Since the first game was played on US Central, which was a bit better for Reynor, and the second game was played on US West, which favors Stats a little bit, I kind of thought that we'd go back to Central for Game 3, but we are once again on the US West server, so there is a little advantage when it comes to the ping for Stats in this game. And since he just won on this server already, Maynard, that's gotta give him a little confidence boost.
Yeah, I mean, every little bit helps. This is a very important match here for both players, of course. It's one map. Makes a big difference as far as their comfort level, and a big sigh of relief when you get through the group stage. I mean, Stats could very likely still make it out, but you don't want to have a full night's work ahead of you, especially in in Korea, where you could potentially be playing up until 3 in the morning.
And the way, of course, it always
1:30 there, I think.
yeah. And the way, of course, it always works is that the winners of group will only play against second place finishes of other groups. Now, I don't think there is a guarantee that you're going to get an easy quarterfinals in the season finals just because you're a seed 1 and you go up against a runner-up of one of the other groups. But, it can make a difference, right? If we all expect players like Serral, Reynor, and we already saw TY to win that group, at least you can avoid those until the semis.
Stats going for a double pylon block here. The double mana pylon on third base. You don't see that every day. You actually nearly got the drone there on the extractor, but just well saved there from Reynor. This is very annoying.
Yep. I almost never see that, to be totally fair. This is quite news to me, but I love it. I mean, this is a proper delay. That Adept going to shade out one more time. I love how it was immediately running towards that extractor, potentially sniping the drone, cancels the shade. Stats is being a proper nuisance here, and I love to see it.
He's being a real brat. I love it. This is actually like almost a minute late, this third. He's definitely done his job. Well played for Stats. Good start here for the early game. Of course, it's not, the end of the game. It's not a huge advantage for him, but it is definitely an advantage.
Once again, we're going to open up with a Stargate by Stats. Is that 6 out of 6, Maynard? I believe it is, right?
Yeah, Stargate every time.
That's funny.
Not always Void Ray, though, or not always Oracle. That's the only real difference.
Yeah, we saw the double Oracle opening. We've seen Void Ray into single Oracle. Now it's just Void Ray into at least one Oracle, potentially one more. That Void Ray is going to go on a little adventure. We know that the Void Ray doesn't often get too much done. Reynor is getting a very quick Evo chamber in this game, Maynard. Could we potentially be looking at some +1 melee memes out of here?
I feel like +1 melee would definitely be the right call. If I'm with you there, wasn't really paying attention to that Evo chamber, if I'm honest, but yeah. +1 melee would make sense. It is pretty early. You don't need that for spores anymore. So we got himself the Overlord, getting muscle back by that Void Ray, but 3 Queens will push back pretty hard, and it's going to be +1 range, strangely enough. Hasn't even got his Roach Warren yet.
He's going to go for that one real quick. Queen count is looking decent. That Oracle is going to... No, I don't like that. Isn't that Oracle going to take way too much damage from the Queen? Well, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it takes a bit of HP damage for sure. This Void Ray comes in while the Queens are busy. Gets a couple Overlords there. Very nice. Can it live, though? Oh my god. That was one shot. There's a 3 hit point Void Ray right there.
So that's 2 Overlords. 3 Overlords already. Wow, that's a lot, actually. I didn't really expect a Void Ray to just run to the other side of the map. And obviously, you're always going to get one that's on your side of the map. And even if it's not there, you should be able to find it somewhere in the center. But getting 2 more while there are multiple Queens trying to protect those Overlords, that's really well done by Stats.
See if this fast upgrade for Reynor plays into this game a little bit. He could have himself a nice timing with that +1 as it is a little bit earlier. Comes in that third base. Oracle 2 adepts, 3 adepts, excuse me. So it doesn't really have any chance of doing damage with these lings. Got a Prism on the way here for Stats. Twilight Council's about to finish up. Looks like he wants to go across the map soon here, within the minute.
Yeah, we know that he likes the Archon Harass as a follow-up, right? And there is the Templar Archive, so there's a good chance that we're just going to see that one more time. This game, the economies are a lot closer. Obviously, sniping 3 overlords and not investing in double oracle where you lose one of them is going to help. Obviously, when I say that, we do see 11 drones on the way for Reynor, who is trying to get his fort base up in the center with a rich Vespian gas, which in general does favor Zerg a little bit. By the way, have we seen a single Baneling in this series?
No, actually, and I don't think there were Banelings for DRG either. Like it's been all about the Roach, Hydra, and then eventually Lurker.
That's funny. It's all this talk about the Bane, and we haven't seen a single Bane.
I mean, it is still the best unit in the game, but I guess there are styles that don't need it. It's the new age.
I mean, I think on this map, I think it would make some sense. I really wouldn't hate to see it, but yeah, obviously since Reynor is investing in missile attacks and not in melee, like Banelings really benefit a lot from having those attack upgrades. We all know that +2 is the magical upgrade for Banelings that will start one-shotting workers. But yeah, we don't. That's not on the way, and maybe Reynor doesn't feel like making Banelings without any attack upgrades is really a good idea.
No Spore here for Reynor like DRG had, so he's going to lose some Hydras here. That's actually a lovely pick off the stats. Those are not cheap. Oh, Archon! Whoop. I don't know
really
why I was worried.
Both Archons are on like 3 HP, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. That's very bold from stats, but I mean, he got a good cluster of Hydras there. That's yeah, those Hydras are expensive, so well played. Good damage. Moving out to take his 4th base now, his stats, and I gotta say, he looks a lot more comfortable in this game, and he... If he looks as good as he does in Game 2 with discomforting starts, then we'll see how he does now in this one as the Infestation Pit and the Lurker Den go down now for Reynor. But Reynor's been a little bit more passive this game. He's not been across the map poking at stats.
I do feel that on this map, it's a bit better for the Zerg to get proper setups going with the Lurkers, right? I think Pillars of Gold is incredibly wide open, so it's perhaps a bit easier for the Protoss to maneuver around them. I feel like on Everdream, you really need to keep that army at bay, otherwise things can get very intimidating real quick. Also, mainly, I love that SimCity that Stas has going at his 3rd base. Like, we kind of saw that already against Dongregul, but that just looks like an unbreakable base.
That's all he does. He's got Storm as well. Big Storm on the Hydras. They got to get out of there. They don't have their muscular augments just yet, so they can't really micro out of Storms very easily. Going to take tons of splash damage. This Hive starts for Reynor. Stats is getting that Immortal count looking healthier. +2 is on the way. Blink as well for Stats. He's been skipping Blink. He's been skipping Blink most of the time, but this time not going to.
That is so many cannons and batteries. He's not stopping. Yeah, he's like, if you guys want to spam units and attack me at multiple angles, fine. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? Make Zealots and lose? We do have Dropperlords, by the way, on the way, and I do love to see that, because that's obviously an awesome way for Reynor to potentially avoid some of the static defenses that Stats is warping in at his 3rd and 4th base. Yeah.
I mean, it's the team game build, Roddy. You sit behind a bunch of cannons and spam Stargate units. That is the build for team games for Protoss, but... Of course, you have to play a 1v1 up until that point. Until you get to the point where you can get that fleet beacon and drop those Stargates and mass those carriers. Hive is finished up now. Time to get into those Lurker upgrades. Reynor, with those Dropper Lords, can start to put them into the mineral lines and into the main base of the Protoss. Oh, that patrolling Void Ray. That's going to kill Overlords real quick with Prismatic Alignment.
I know, and that would be a very expensive pickup. Is Stats paying attention? The answer is yes, but no Prismatic. Well, there is Prismatic in the end. Gets an Overlord full of Hydras. 4 Hydras go down, and a couple of Zealots have been walked into the main base immediately to take care of the remaining Hydras. Oracle shows up with Revelation. Very well done. The Hydras did kill the Void Ray, at least.
Yeah, they got rid of the Void, but I still feel like this drop from Reynor is kind of doomed at this point. As it gets closer into the main base. I mean, there is no cannons here, so they could be a little bit annoying. Doesn't mean it has to drop a Revelation when it expires. Oh, 3rd base.
Okay, the cannon just killed the Dropper Lord with the Lurker quite a bit. And that's a juicy Storm as well in the middle of all these Hydras. Man, like, Stats is doing an absolutely amazing job in, like, basically being at 55, 60 army supply and just being bulletproof because he's got 7, 8 cannons everywhere.
And we got 9 more Lurkers joining in to get Reynor up to that magic number of like 11 or so. And he is still, I mean, there's a lot of firepower here for Reynor, and he is maxed out. He's starting to amass that bank. It's a scary moment here for Zerg. But he is just finding it hard to find an angle. Stasis, oh, it's going to catch those slings. Good trigger there from Reynor. These Lurkers and Hydras are safe, but that Storm, though, oh, a little bit late on that split. Lots of damage on those Hydras.
Yeah, but if these Lurkers get into the natural, that's where we don't have a lot of static defenses and not a good Storm on top of the Hydras, but that Lurker count still looks pretty intimidating. I believe the first carriers are out, actually, 3 carriers. Well, Stats is going to engage the army on the left side. Has to be very careful with those High Templars.
Now the Zealot run by here, some static defense, of course, for Reynor, but not at this hatchery. That's an exposed drone line. They're getting something interceptors here. Those carriers are not finding any use with those Hydras being high enough to counter fight back and plus to attack as well. They are absolutely mincing up those interceptors, but likewise, Stats kills 10 drones. Doesn't pick off a hatchery, but gets a lot of econ damage.
Yep, he's going to try to get a couple of these Lurkers as well, but these Immortals need to get out of there. It's very fortunate for Stats that +1 finished up there for the carriers. The carrier count is at 3, but we have 3 more on the way. So even if that Cybercore at the front is going to go down, at least he already has +1. I actually think that Stats can clean this up, Maynard. I think if he comes in from multiple angles, lands a good Storm, uses all the interceptors, but it is like kind of now or never because the Zerglings are starting to take control of the natural, and even the main base is going to be in some trouble soon.
Oh, and here's where all the carriers are getting produced from as well. The Interceptors now being forced their hand here against the Hydras. Still just a deep line of Hydras just getting through all those Interceptors. Stats also on the bottom here, losing his units to the Lurkers. No more Interceptors, only 4 remaining on this entire carrier fleet. This is devastating for Stats. Reynor has cracked him here. He's in the production. He's depowered the other Stargate, killed one of them as well. Oh, man, and that National, he can pick that up on the way out.
It is devastating, but it's not crucial damage yet, because during all of this, Stats was able to take out one of the hatcheries as well. Reynor, the other bases still have High Templars. That's an amazing Storm. Do we have enough interceptors at this point to fight those Hydras? I don't know, but it's starting to get close. I mean, that was painful for Stats, but I don't think Stats is down and out.
And he's got the Mothership now as well, and as much as we like to -400 against a Hydra army without Vipers, without a big ball of Corruptors, the Mothership actually could be very useful here. Dropping a Time Warp or even just keeping things cloaked and giving him those extra few seconds of DPS. Never mind, Mothership way up the open, gets picked up immediately by Hydras. -400, I guess.
Perfect, Maynard. But at least like it soaked up some shots. I mean, maybe losing the Mothership is better there than losing 2 carriers. I don't know what to make of it either. Zealot still dealing more damage on the other side of the map. Reynor obviously is still maxed out. These Lurkers, though, Maynard, are starting to get really close, and that is a crucial base for Stats. Stats can't afford to lose that base. That Archon goes down as well. Where's the army? Why is Stats not cleaning it up?
His carriers are in the main for a little bit too long there. Maybe he's just terrified of those Hydras coming in and doing what they just did in the main base earlier as they took the natural and way through. Stats losing the Archon means he's going to lose this 3rd base. I mean, it was kind of a moot point anyway. The server's always going to go down if Reynor really wanted it. The Lurkers now being turned and fired there against the High Templar with full energy. Gets 1 Storm off but dies. And the Observer goes down, so the Lurkers has to tag them again with the Revelations, which he still can do, but I like these run bys from Stats. I like what he's doing here, but I actually think that he's starting to run out of wind. Like, he doesn't have any steam left in the engine at the moment. I think that Reynor's really starting to just trounce him.
Yep, I mean, Stats warped in 2 cybernetics cores by the time he lost his first one, or almost lost the first one, and he never used them. He's been under so much pressure, and it does really feel that Reynor has taken note. He's like, wait a minute, those Zealots did way too much damage in the previous game. This is a bit dangerous in range of an overcharged battery. One of the carriers went down, but now actually all the Hydras will go down.
Oh, no.
Observer. That's kind of cute.
Yeah, Stats actually lost his Oracle as well, so he needs an Observer to pop out to actually kill these Lurkers, which is still sort of parked in the natural. And they move up into the main base now. Reynor, knowing that the carriers are out of position, he's going for the main to try and get more production killed.
Yeah, but now there's another Observer. That does mean that all of these Lurkers are going to go down, but Reynor is remaxing on 22 Corruptors. That's I think more than enough at this point. 8 carriers are going to have a very hard time surviving, but maybe with batteries, maybe with Storm, who knows?
It seems like a stretch. 26 Corruptors, and the only thing that's really a threat to Reynor at the moment is the carrier, so he's just like going 100% on carrier defense here. Stats is going to start getting some Archons, which, gives him a chance against the Corruptors, but it still doesn't look very good.
It feels like the High Templars are very naked in the center of the map. Oh, they are very naked.
Oh,
goodness. A couple of them get picked off immediately. At least 1 or 2 Storms did connect. But those Storms, they were meant to keep the carrier safe against the 25 Corruptors that Reynor has made. Maynard, take it away, but I know it ain't going to be pretty.
I mean, all I have to say here is that Stats is done for this series. Reynor has got him against the ropes, and he is going to be taking that first place in Group B. No interceptors, no hope for Stats. GG! Reynor upset. He's the spaghetti of the Korean Protoss.
Reynor